Hello and welcome to my first devlog. And first of all, a couple of words about the game. So it's basically something of a mix of Banished, Frostpunk and RimWorld. And I wanted to create a colony simulation with some kind of different twist to it, as usual. So at first I thought of a Stardew Valley-like game in the feel of the movie Passenger, where the main character wakes up from cryosleep and starts living his life on a huge spaceship, but in the end I decided to scrap that idea, and then a few weeks later basically I started having this idea of a management colony simulation game. And I love Banished, I love Frostpunk. I think the psychological aspect in those games is quite nice, because the idea that in Frostpunk you have to sometimes you have to take the drastic measures and put the children to work, and in Banished, if you give enough space for the people to reproduce, they will start eating too much and basically kill themselves. So they have those dark themes quite much. I won't be giving out too many exact details about this game, since it's still quite a work in progress, and I believe I will be changing some things even that I will be showing in this video. First, a bit of history about myself. I've been doing short films, video editing, Photoshop and etc. as a hobby for quite a long time, basically as long as I've had my computer, since the teen years, and I've studied a bit of computer sciences, but mostly everything I've learned on my free time, and this is also something along those lines. I started learning Unity and C# about 1.5 years ago. Since then I've made a few rough ideas for games and a few ready games and published them on Google Play. They don't have that many downloads, I believe, under 10. They're not that special, but I like the process of creating a game and setting deadlines for me and making a polished product so that it could easily be published and said to the user that it has no bugs. It's like a working game. It's not just some framework. But basically the code is messy in those games, graphics are somewhat lacking, and I had to use stock sound effects and stuff like that. So after that I took part in a few game jams where I had to make complete games in a specified time, and those were quite good in terms of learning new things. A few weeks later, after the last game, I finally had a polished idea of the generation ship in my head, and I've actually had the idea for this as long as I can remember. I fancy the idea that someday the mankind can travel to distant galaxies and colonize habitable planets, so I love the Mass Effect games, for example. And the sheer idea of a generation ship is so absurd that in a way I like to know how this human psyche handles stuff like that, like living in isolation, knowing that you're part of something bigger but you can't pretty much do anything about it but just live and die. At first, like few years ago, I was thinking of writing a book or something about this generation ship and the difficulties and hardships they come across living like this, but I actually ended up creating a one-shot tabletop RPG module, basically like a Dungeons and Dragons in space, on a spaceship. And I've played it a couple of times with my friends, and of course they loved it. It was actually pretty good, if I may say so. So the idea of somehow expanding the story and setting has been in my head for a long time. But okay, then again, a few weeks after the jam I decided to start writing a game, and I'm going to take this pretty slow. I don't wanna get burned out because of this. It's just a hobby. I have to still do my daily job, still do my other hobbies, other stuff, meet my friends, etc. So this will not be taking all of my free time. I tend to use maybe 10 to 30 hours a week, depending on the days, depending on what other stuff I have, sometimes even under 10 hours a week. And I still have to learn quite a much new stuff regarding this. For example, I've never used XML to save game data, so that is something completely new to me. But I have the basics down, and I can create code semi-fast and not run into too many problems. But the main problem comes from graphics and music mostly. I think I think of myself as a jack of all trades and master of some, but the things that I am mastering are not computer related. I've been playing guitar and piano since my teen years, so I now suffer about music, so I can create music, I can play music. I've also been drawing since I was a child, and a few years ago I started painting acrylics also. So I have this idea that I have the basics for everything I need to create the video game, but of course digital painting is quite a different thing from conventional methods of painting, and also making atmospheric music with computer software. It's differs quite a lot from playing guitar. And here, as you can see, some of my paintings that I've done more as a concept art or like a loading screen style imagery, and the song that's playing on the background, of course, it's my first small demo that I made while learning the music software. So finally, what is the game actually about? In all its simplicity, it's about a spaceship where the passengers wake up from the cryosleep mid-flight with no way to go back to sleep, and they have no idea when the ship is going to land to the new world. You, as the player, will have to manage the ship, gather resources from asteroids flying past the ship, recycling materials, building housing, entertainment, improving technology, and all that basic base building stuff. The resource management will hopefully be something like a mix of Banished and Frostpunk. I want the resources to feel scarce and every building to feel like it's meaningfully built, and on top of the building aspect, the human psyche is frail, and of course things like mutiny and crimes will happen. So happiness, despair, hope are something to take into account. The game will have darker themes similar to Frostpunk, like possibly exhausting workdays, child labor, and maybe even limiting the human reproduction laws, or ways of science or even drugs to do that. I haven't really got into the policy and event system, as I like to call it, yet. It's still just an idea in my head, and I'm scribbled down a few notes and mind maps on my papers. The game will have a few intertwining systems like the policies, technology upgrades, event systems, to name a few, so it will not be as basic as Banished as a colony simulator, but the feel of the game might be something like that at some points. And for example, the worker allocation system is pretty much the same from that game. But otherwise, I've been trying to create the game so that I don't take too much influence from other games, since I don't want it to be like a copy or a mix of different games and different genres. I want it to be my own game. I've gotten a small feedback that some people say it looks like Faster Than Light. Of course, it's 2D graphics. It looks a bit like Faster Than Light, but the gameplay is completely different. And of course, there have been games with some kind of the same setting and the idea. One, I don't remember its name, but it's just text-based game, but basically the same idea as this game. And I don't want to play it until this game is more like in the early alpha, so that I don't get too much influence from older games and from games that I haven't yet played. So I have the vision quite clear in my head right now on what I really want to do. So a few things I have here is these are pretty much placeholder graphics so far. I haven't really decided on how I should be doing this graphics, but here I have a space farm where they can work on corn, and if I press here to take some farmers there, a couple of guys should be running around here. In a while, I can also put the time running a bit faster. Okay, there is my small space guy running to the farm, and now I'm starting to get some food. And I'll take 3 of them off, and if I want to build something new, I have all the buildings here that so far I have. Let's build a gel factory right here, and already it's allocated 3 builders and they start going there. and in a while it will be ready. Then I have the banished like graphs here, so that you can see how your food and how your passenger things are going on. I have the basic material menu on the left side and the buttons on the down. The despair/hope meter doesn't work at this point. I haven't implemented it yet, and the happiness thing, it will refresh it if I put this to 1. So they only have a bit of clothing, so they're happy, but everything else is pretty much fucked up, since they just woke up from the sleep 3 months ago and they're still building their first gel factory. So that's basically what I'm creating right now. So leave a comment down below what you think, and as I said, this is still quite a work in progress, and I will be making these devlog videos once in a while when I get more content. At this point it's still just building the framework for systems. For example, the event system, I haven't even started it. The policies, I haven't even started them. I have a couple of bugs regarding the building at this point, so even small things that seem minor, seem small to the eye when I launch the game will take quite a long time to build. For example, only the happiness thing might take a week or 2 on my schedule to build fully, and I still have a few buildings I haven't even implemented that are taking happiness into account, like entertainment stuff. Okay, so this was this for this time, and I hope to see you next time, and throw a comment down below on what you think. What are your opinions on the game so far, and what would you like to see in the game? Bye.